Thank you, Rob.
Think
What will you do differently in these next 18 matches that maybe wasn't being done in the first 16 to try to improve the team's results?
I mean, right now my immediate focus is on the Houston game. I'm not thinking too far ahead. You mentioned all those games. Right now it's just evaluating the group where they've had some time off now. We had 9 games in 30 days or whatever that time period ended up being. So now let them get out, get refreshed and re-energized, and now come back and we'll kind of try to evaluate from there and when we get back to training and kind of see where the guys are at, then we can go from there and see what we can really accomplish in the time period. I don't want to say we're going to fix all these things or there's all these things to fix. We really want to be dialed in on being specific and getting to that and thinking what we can control and what we can change.
Thanks, Doug. Next question, we'll go ahead to Felipe. Felipe, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Rob. Have you in this evaluation process that I imagine is going to be ongoing up until the Houston game, have you been able to put your finger on just why the players aren't performing up to expectation? You're with them all the time. You know them better than almost anyone in the building. What has been the issue? Like, why aren't they reaching their potential?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair question. It's a good question. It's been an ongoing process for all of us as we've been here and looking at what we can do better. I don't think there's a pinpoint to one thing. I think it's important that everybody is healthy. That obviously gives us a better chance of having a really full strength squad. And I mean, I think in terms of the way I want to see the team evolve in some ways is that can we add a little bit more directness to us? That doesn't mean just knocking balls long, but how we can pull teams out to them playing behind them. I think that we feel like we've got a really strong squad and we want to try to utilize all those players to the best of their abilities by setting them up to succeed. So wherever those positions might be and the players in those spots, but putting them out there and letting them feel comfortable in where they're at and really letting them go.
Next question, we'll go to Joe Patrick. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, Rob, just where is this team? How would you describe where they are mentally right now? Because it seems like they've been really just frustrated the last few weeks, talking to them after games, like they were, fully supportive of the coaching staff that was in place, which may be a little bit different than what happened last time you were put in charge as caretaker manager. And so just where is that do you also see that as part of kind of what you need to work on with these guys is just kind of keeping them, at a certain level in terms of their mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that now going away for some time and having some time to reflect, having some time to whether it be with family or get away from the game in some ways, that it allows them to be refreshed. Something that I think that they need to come back to the enjoyment of the game and not because of anything that was happening before, but when results don't go your way and you've played so many games in so many days that you're down, maybe of not full confidence. But I think that's the big piece is really seeing where they're at as they come out of this break and bringing the enjoyment back to every day and getting some results in the short term.
Next question, Sydney Hunt. Sydney, go ahead.
Hey, Rob. Happy Friday. Thanks for doing this. You kind of touched on it in your previous answers to the previous questions, but I guess what's your overall message? I mean, you've done this before, but with this little bit different group of players, what's your overall message to them for these next few games leading into Houston?
Yeah, I mean, the next thing I'm going to really try to touch on is about getting back to the enjoyment, like I just talked about, how we can find that in every day, on the field, off the field, and finding the little bits of joy that we do in doing our jobs and shared success. Like this is, I think that if you look at teams and organizations and things like that, it's not one person's fault. It's shared in terms of where we are at in that sense. So there's that responsibility, that accountability. Also in the other side of it, like I want there to be shared success. It's not on one coach or one player or one front office staff member. I think that we really want to enjoy the day to day, enjoy the shared success, and I think that's what's going to be the message moving forward from myself over the next couple of days.
Next question, Sam Jones. Sam, go ahead.
Hey Rob, wanted to ask if your view of the game has changed since the last time you were in charge. Has there been anything that's been altered about your game model or the way you see teams being successful in MLS after being with Gonzalo the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think I would say I'm always evolving the way I see things. Like working with I've had the pleasure to work with multiple coaches, and I've learned something from all of them, and that's been really good. I think from the last time that, when we were together and this kind of thing happened, um, I've definitely gotten more into the thoughts of how we can attack in different ways. Also I think about transition moments a lot, especially with this league. You look at where teams spend money and where teams have really dangerous attackers. They've got speed, and those transitional moments become really big. Also, just being in Atlanta for the time period I've been here, and listening to the crowd, and I feel like the transitional moments become really big, and it's piqued my interest in how we can create more of those moments in our favor. So that would be something that it's constantly evolving. I like to see different strategies of way different teams play. I'm definitely not married to one way. I think it's about getting the best out of the squad that you have wherever you end up being, and the players you have. So, yeah, to answer your question, that's kind of where I see myself at the moment.
Go to Doug with the next question. Doug, your line's open. Go ahead.
Thank you. Kind of two questions, Rob. First is, do you want the job full time? And second, when Garth spoke to us on Monday, he kind of talked about that there may have been a perception that some people were in the boats of Diego and Eugenio, and that you were going to be a fresh voice. And I was curious, how would you interpret Garth's comments, and what fresh voice will that be?
To answer the first part, like it's not been my focus, honestly, Doug. Like I just really focused on the first game, getting everybody back in the building, and starting to attack from there. Like I'm not going to think too far ahead. That's not in my nature. I'm trying to be very, very present in that way. I'll let the rest take care of itself. Like I think it's a results oriented business, and at the end of the day, that chips fall there, then okay. I stated before that I would love to be a head coach at some point in my career, and if that's somewhere in Atlanta or if it's elsewhere, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. And in terms of, I don't know if I fully understood what you mentioned with Diego and Eugenio, but you talk about like a different voice. Look, every coach is different, and they have their different ways of communicating, different ways of coaching, and that makes them unique. And I think that's the great thing that I've had here is I've had experience with all these different managers and the way they've coached, and I can't replicate any of them. And I say that with all due respect of the great things that they did. I think that those things I can't replicate because it's not me. I will be my own voice and unique to that. And although ideas could be similar, they could be different. There are certain things in the way I coach and the way I am that I think will resonate with some and maybe not with others. But that will be the difference I feel like that they'll have with me. But some of them obviously will be familiar with that as well.
Next question to Felipe. Felipe, go ahead.
Thank you. Rob, some of these tactical adjustments that you mentioned they could obviously, if it works out, that's going to help the mentality of the team. If the results start coming, winning obviously solves everything. But how do you plan on addressing those intangibles, the lack of resiliency, that lack of confidence, the thick skin that the team is sorely needing, on match day when they go down, or if there's an equalizer? That seems to be something that has been really troubling this team. So how do you address that? And then on Thiago Mata, you know him well. Like, how do you bring him into the fold in this particular moment, which is a big one for the club? He wants to go to Europe. Every good player does. How do you keep him focused on what's at hand and what's at play for Atlanta United?
Yeah, I mean, both really good questions. Let me talk to you about the first one. You talk about the mentality and what I feel like I can help bring. I don't think there's a pinpoint answer on how you make that happen for the whole group. Everybody responds differently to to different coaching in different ways. And I think that that's the uniqueness of a team. You've got different players from different cultures and different backgrounds. The one thing I really I love working with, like the human side of things. I really enjoy getting to know the players and the relationship building that has taken place over the course of anywhere I've been and being here in Atlanta for as long as I have. So I'm gonna really touch into that part and really try to trigger things that I feel like we can get behind together. I think that's a really big piece is again, I talk about the shared success, shared responsibility, accountability. And then, ultimately, and it goes in on game day or it goes in on training, that we're all in one boat going together and we're going the same direction. Because I think that's super important. I feel like we're really one spark away from letting this thing kind of ignite and really start to engage in a fire there in that sense. And then the second part with Thiago, like, yes, he's a very, very talented player. I think back to the time when this happened before, and we had a guy like Barco and what we did with him, and it's different, a different type of player. Some good attacking qualities, and Thiago is a player that will be super important for us in this next stretch of games when he comes back. I hope he comes back with a new energy, refreshed. Being away with the national team. At the moment he's an important piece of that. So be trying to get him in the right spots, the dangerous places that he can end up. I think he puts teams on their heels or on their toes, whichever way you look at it. I hope that he can help spark us in the attack and also do his bit for the team, if that is a little bit of defending or in the transitional moments. He's a player that I see committed to the team and trying to bring some success.
Next question will go to Luke Hetrick. Luke, go ahead. Your line is open.
Hey, Rob, going through this process before, what was it for you that maybe you thought was most successful, most helpful, that you immediately apply to this situation to where you can stabilize this season where it's at?
Yeah, the last time it was completely different. I think that you're looking at two scenarios where last time we went into it, we had a ton of games, didn't have time to think, didn't have time to prep, and we went right into it. This comes on the back of having some days off, time to reflect, time to think, and there's different emotions that come with that. I think the biggest thing for me is staying true to myself. Like I have to be authentically me, and the way I come across to the players, the way I come across to the rest of the staff, the club. I think that it's important that I am who I am, and I'm not gonna change in some way. I have to evolve and continue to progress and get better in different ways. But at the same time, like at the core, being myself, and then hopefully that will bleed through the confidence of the team and help in that way.
Next question will go to Joe Patrick. Joe, go ahead.
Rob, can you just talk through the members of your staff that will help you conduct training and who will help you do the game planning and such, and also in addition, if there will be any additions to that staff?
Yeah, we're still working through some of those things. I think we'll put hopefully something out soon that we can start to evaluate some of the options. Like we've had the Liam will stay on staff as a goalkeeper coach. We've got a video analyst, Jose, who's still with us, and then the rest of the high performance staff is still here. But at the moment, we're exploring some other options and hopefully have that finalized for everybody.
Just a couple more. We'll go to Sydney and then Doug. Sydney, go ahead. Your line's open.
Rob, since Monday, have you spoken at all to Gonzalo? And if so, what have those conversations been?
Yeah, we exchanged text. Sent him a message. He sent one back. This is not an easy thing. The human side of it, like the two conflicting emotions for me, like the sadness of that. We had a relationship, and it was a pleasure to work with him. And on the other side, like there's opportunity now for myself and the rest of the team to move forward. But we had a quick conversation, and hopefully we'll have more in the future. But yeah, it was just a two quick text exchange and wishing both each other well.
We'll go to Doug. Doug, go ahead.
Hey, Rob. obviously the team needs goals to win. You're going to be missing several guys because of Copa America and the Euros. I know you can't comment on last night's report about Giacomakis being sold to Cruz Azul, but if a high-profile player is sold, have you had conversations with Bocanegra or Garth about replacing that player in this summer window? Obviously, the team thinks it can make the playoffs, but it's got to have scorers.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I can't speculate on anything, any transfer rumors or transactions. That's down to Carlos and Garth, and when things pop up, but I deal with them as we can.
All right, everyone. Thanks for your time. If you need the recording, just let myself or Justin know, and we'll have our schedule out for next week's media availability, hopefully on Monday. Any other questions, let us know. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, guys.